Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BTB Movie Club podcast. My name is Ryan Malo. We hope you enjoy today's movie discussion. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to the BTB Movie Club. My name is Tim Larson, here with all kinds of friends to discuss the movie Uncut Gems, movie number 214 for us from 2019. I don't know how to pronounce these guys' names. It's Safety?
Safdie.
Safdie. Thank you, Hilty. Benny and Josh Safdie, writers and directors of Good Time, a movie that we have covered before that Dan picked. And after the success of that, they moved on with this, if I may say, gem. This is Malo's pick. Malo, enjoy the show.
All right. So this, again, was a pick because of the, I can't remember how it's phrased, but you may also like, or something like that on IMDb. And so it popped up as one I'd heard good things about, or I guess at least interesting things about. I didn't know anything about the story and kind of kept it that way. Even going into Friday when I watched the first half, I was talking to Jamie about it and seeing if she wanted to watch it. She's like, "Well, what's it about?" I said, I don't really know. Adam Sandler's in it, and that's kind of it. And then she, in her looking it up, I was like, "Don't even tell me." Like, I liked the idea of going in blind. And man, that was a choice. Yeah, well, obviously I'll have my thoughts at the end, but that's just kind of how it came to be. I didn't have any like affinity for it or connection to something else. It was just something that I know I'd wanted to see. So with that, Tim, I'll actually let you kick it off.
Okay. Just watched it today. I've seen the first half of it a couple of times, and it just makes me so uncomfortable. I mean, if the goal of this movie is to make you feel uncomfortable, just 10 out of 10. I had to do some breathing exercises to calm myself down at the end of this movie. I could just feel my heart pumping. I think Sandler is fantastic. This is worth throwing out here immediately. The word fuck is used 560 times in this movie. It's fourth all time. Wolf of Wall Street is just slightly ahead of it. The casting is just really good. They used some people who are actually in the business in this. You can kind of tell, and the girl Julia, her name is Julia Fox. The little research I did, apparently she wasn't really an actress. She was like a socialite and like a high profile socialite in New York. And they just, I don't know, they just were like, "Yep, we want you for the role, I guess." And God, she was great. I thought she was really, really great. I just the rhythm of this thing, just how fast it went. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but at least twice when he went to take the money and go bet the money that he had in his hand, I was like grabbing my head like, "Oh God, don't do it." And in the end, I don't know if anybody deserves to die, but that guy, we could at least say that he put himself in a position where he got himself in an arena he shouldn't have gotten into. Let's just put it that way. So I don't have too much to say because I'm still just reacting to it. Really uncomfortable movie. I think it's a really good movie. I think it deserves the accolades that it gets. I could not look away. I thought the acting was great. Cinematography was great. Scenery was great. And the music throughout, especially the beginning, was very awkward. And I was like, "Why is this music so awkward?" And then I started watching the movie, and I was like, "Oh, that's why. Because you're setting the tone that the whole thing's awkward, and I'm gonna want to cry while watching this." So yeah, those are my initial thoughts. Just finished it like an hour ago, and just still reeling from what I saw. So I'm still trying to calm down over here. I need a breather. I need an oxygen tank.
Got it. Yeah, I wish. I mean, yeah. Just full disclosure, I didn't. It was kind of the same thing where there's that shock value, and because of that, I don't know. There were some interesting things that I could have looked up, or different questions, and I didn't. I just kind of sat with that whole thing, and I don't know. We'll see where that takes us, and if that was a good choice or not. But Brian, you're up, sir.
First time seeing the movie. Last time seeing the movie. um, there were moments. It was like I haven't had like really bad gambling issues, but there's been times where in my history financially, borrowed from Peter to pay Paul, which is basically what that guy did for the whole movie, and trading rings and such. But it just, I guess, uncomfortable would be a good word. That you just every time you wanted him to stop. It's like just stop. The guy's, who he's owing most of his money is his brother-in-law, which is nuts.
Yeah.
He has his dad buy back the opal, and then, or not dad, but father-in-law, buys and then takes that money, and he's just pissing that all away. It's always, I'll get you Tuesday. I gotta, this money I gotta put somewhere, and I'll get it back. It's like, you know, stop letting him do it. It's the the best thing that could happen.
Somebody needed to step in and stop that guy.
Yeah,
Right? Like that's what I was thinking.
and no one. I mean, the guy owns the jewelry shop, so his worker's not going to. He's got an apartment. His wife knows he's got a chick in there and sends her kid up with him to go use the bathroom, which was a baller move on
Yeah,
Indina
interesting.
Menzel. So then he's like, "Oh, my, bathroom's all fucked up." Nope. Edward James Amos,
John Amos.
John Amos.
John Amos. Oh, and who am I going with? The guy from Stand and Deliver, right?
Yes.
Wrong minority. Sorry. But it was just, there were some parts of it. It was, like I said, made you cringe. I mean, and actually Phil finally stopped him with a bullet in the face.
Yeah.
So, the Eric Bogosian,
Bogosian.
I like him. I've seen him do some other stuff. He was in played a shrink on Scrubs for Dr. Cox, and then also he played a lieutenant on a Law and Order Criminal Intent, which I enjoyed him in that. But I thought he was kind of the boss, and he had hired muscle, Phil. Then Phil gets pissed off and just shoots him in the head. It was like, what? Okay, I guess don't sit Phil in a hot box for 3 hours and have him watch basketball.
Yeah.
Shit gets out of control. I didn't write the note. It started, I went, oh, great, A24 marathon. So, and then my biggest, what pissed me off of the whole movie, and I'm surprised I didn't shut it off, is there's no way Tony Allen beats up Ben Wallace. Kevin Garnett was full of shit for saying that, and fuck him. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm not mad I watched the movie or anything. It was one of those, I believe you said, Tim, it was a Netflix movie that came out, and then they ended up just selling the rights to it. They stopped showing it, and
I looked that up. Do you know why?
because they were ashamed they made it.
Nope.
No.
They anticipated Sandler getting an Oscar nomination. And if it was just released on Netflix and it didn't go in theaters, that wouldn't happen. So they actually allowed the movie to get released in theaters, and when we'll just retain Sandler's, whatever deal they have, rights later, and he ended up not getting nominated. So they kind of, they let it go in anticipation of that kind of award that never happened.
Oh, interesting. No, but it was one that I had heard about. I wanted to see, and glad I did see it. And the other one he did that they were talking really well about him, I think, was one called Hustle.
Mhm.
And I haven't seen that one either, so I'm
He's
kind of want
coaching
to.
or something like that, right?
I think he's a scout.
He's a scout.
Oh,
He's a
yeah.
scout.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
and he finds the next guy. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about it. So
Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get a nod for Oscars or something. I mean, it's the
There's
type of role.
there's no reason why he didn't get an Oscar nom. Well, there is because it's all politics. It's the same reason why Jim Carrey never gets nominated for anything, even though he absolutely deserves at least two nominations, maybe three, considering or depending on how you feel about Man on the Moon.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's set up that way that you would think, and obviously everything that he did with it was solid. I think. All right, but Hilty, you're up, sir.
Um, I've seen this once before, and I decided to check this out again, and my feelings for it largely remain the same. This movie just makes me feel uncomfortable, and I think that's part of the point for it. It's just what the Safdie brothers do with a lot of their movies, is that there's just so much anxiety and tension that they have in all of their movies. It's just the style that they direct in, and that's fine. It's their choice, but it's it's a little on the frustrating side sometimes to watch it, but I think it's part of the point and part of what they want to do with it. So I'm glad I watched it again, even though as somebody who suffers from anxiety, this movie just makes me cringe at so many different levels. And that's just the mark of I'll say innovative filmmaking, because depending on how you feel about it, it's kind of just a perspective on if you think it's good or not. And I think this is just very innovative, very creating, a deliberate way to make a film. Um, I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's not for me, but I still enjoy it nonetheless. Um, Touched on Adam Sandler, and this is probably the best dramatic role that he's ever done. Um, Goes to show that he could do dramatic roles if he wants, but Netflix is paying him a shitload of money to make whatever he's making for Netflix now, so it's fine. Um, and this isn't to say that I don't appreciate Sandler's like older stuff, which I still love all those old Adam Sandler movies, but this is just a whole other level and just shows just how good writing and casting could lend someone an opportunity to unlock a different level that they're not going that someone else could possibly see in an actor that historically has kind of been pigeonholed in a certain type of way. Um, my favorite part of this movie is Kevin Garnett, and maybe that's partially
Yeah, he's great.
because I was a huge Kevin Garnett fan growing up because he was somebody who just didn't take shit from anyone. And I feel like he's not doing a whole lot of acting, even though he's playing himself. Because did anyone ever see the movie Trainwreck?
I don't
yes,
know.
And so that one, it stars Amy Schumer and Bill Hader, and LeBron James is in that. And LeBron James is playing like a caricature of himself, where he's kind of aloof and he's kind of, playing a dumb jock. Whereas in this, I feel like Kevin Garnett is just being himself because he is just the stories of him just shit talking people and just being such a bully to everyone are legendary around the NBA. So I did appreciate that a lot from this. Um, Brian, you mentioned that this watching Howard as he just continues to gamble away everything, it just I think the ending is the only way that this could have ended.
yeah,
Because with someone who's got as crippling of a gambling addiction as he does, I don't think that there's any other way that it could have been stopped unless he died. So, or he was killed specifically.
Yeah,
So
that incident or a future incident. Like it was going to end that way sooner
it
or
was
later.
inevitable
Yeah.
at that point. Like towards the end, I was like, okay, he's actually going to pull this off. And nope, I just the very matter of fact and just shot very abruptly in the face. That caught me off guard, but I was like, yeah, okay, that was inevitably going to happen. Just also just the griminess of just all the people in this movie. It's just a testament to just how the Safdie brothers just wrote and directed this. Just everybody in this movie, like there's not a single likable person in this movie. God, fucking Brian with these elves, like
I got a couple. I did write that down, but I do have a couple that I guess you could root for, but nobody like at the forefront.
yeah, nobody at the forefront, and that's fine. There's nothing, there's nothing wrong with that. So I took a look at who all got nominated for Best Actor the year that that Adam Sandler was eligible for this award. So Joaquin Phoenix for Joker was the winner for that. So
that was a pretty good performance.
It was a pretty good performance, but it's also highly debated whether or not it's even like something to watch or something that's awards worthy. Adam Driver in Marriage Story, which that was a fantastic performance. Leonardo DiCaprio for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And the two that, you could possibly swap in and out, Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory and Jonathan Pryce for The Two Popes. Because Jonathan Pryce, I remember, that was the one that was like, really? This guy? But again, just showing just like a pattern with the Academy for not nominating comedic actors when they do dramatic roles or when comedic actors even do comedic roles as well. So
Yeah, they get to win Best Supporting, like Robin Williams or something like that, but they don't get to win the big one.
and even that award for Robin Williams, that was like his 5th nomination. And I love Good Will Hunting. I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's his best performance, though.
Sure.
And I think
But politics again, it was a
it's all politics, and this is why the Academy Awards are just like anything with film. It's
there's
super
full page
subjective.
ads in the newspaper. I mean, it's like it's a media blitz. Yeah.
So I will admit though that the Safdie brothers are now kind of in a territory where, if anything, I will be curious to see what else they come out with, and I will at least consider it. There's some people out there that I'm like, I think I'm good because
I heard they weren't working together anymore. They were done.
I can see that being a thing because not everyone can be like Joel and Ethan Cohen, where they've done most everything together, and even one of them does the predominant amount of directing. Same thing with the Wachowski siblings. They split up for a while too, and now all they're doing is doing stuff together. So cool. But I'm curious, Malo, what was it about Uncut? Because I missed last week, and Tim, I went through some of the archives. Like I usually miss yours, and I don't know why. It's nothing on you or anything like that, but I usually miss yours, so I apologize for that. But Malo, what was it about Uncut Gems that you picked? Because you had a whole slew of movies that you could pick. And I'm kind of wondering, what was it about Uncut Gems that
I'm trying to think now.
drew it to
I
you?
looked at Big Night to try and look on the IMDb and see what, and there was one or two that kind of stood out or whatever. And then whatever my second movie was which now I can't remember off the top of my head.
Hmm.
It was
Minority
that.
Report.
Really? It was that? How the hell does this come up with Minority Report?
I was just
That
saying that
sounds
was
right.
your second.
Yeah, I know it was okay. So I was gonna say I know it was early, but anyway, that one popped up and it jogged my memory that
I'm sorry, Disaster Artist.
Okay. Thank you.
That makes a lot more sense.
Disaster Artist, Minority Report. They're almost
Well, no, just the
interchangeable.
character and the disaster artist and this character here. Like that makes a
Oh
lot more
yeah,
sense.
just
Constantly running a game.
just somebody who's just like, this guy's not gonna stop until somebody either kills him or they're just gonna be like, okay, whatever. Let's just
Or they
let
make
him
a
do
movie
it.
about him. Yeah, so that was it. Like I said, I'd heard interesting things. Nothing I could even really put my finger on. I just knew that it was something I'd wanted to watch, and so, why not? Aaron.
My second time watching it. Same thing everybody else is saying here. It's just anxiety ridden. Couple things that I almost wanted to go like backwards from maybe what Brian and Hilty said. When Phil shot him at the end, I was like, thank God. It's, just because it was like, whoo, and then the shit started with his brother-in-law. And it's like, what is happening? Because you thought it was over and it's going to be a break. And, as soon as Phil grabbed him, I'm like, oh, he's dead too. He's had enough. I wanted to ask, did anybody...
Real quick, I was going to ask, so I mean, it's a good spot, and Hilty kind of alluded to it. So do you think he should have tried to run, or do you think he'd have been okay if he just played cool?
I think he would have been fine if he would have played cool. He would have got out of there alive. He would have saw his brother-in-law. 75% chance he gets out of there alive if he played cool. Yeah, trying to run, he was automatically dead.
Yep. Yeah. The thing to keep you alive is, thank God you shot my brother-in-law. Like you say that in that room, and then later on you change your story.
Can I get one of them Furby necklaces? You become part of the crew. You're all in it together. You don't become a potential rat or a squealer. Hell no, I'm in it too. Give me the gun. I'll put a pill in the back of his head too. Whatever. But you get out of there alive. He's dead. You're alive. Get out. But yeah, anyway, so did anybody else second time seeing it? So I knew it was going to happen, but even the first time through, I felt the same way. This just reinforced everything. There was a few things I might have been not paying attention to the first time. So I did pick up on some new things. The nightclub scene seemed a lot longer, and his beef with the Weeknd still didn't make a whole lot of sense. But that gets back to his just anxiety ridden lifestyle of, always needs drama, whatever. But so when he had them trapped in the two doors in the breezeway, I knew even the first time, as soon as Phil sat, they showed Phil sat down and calm and he wasn't fighting. I knew as soon as the door opened, he was dead. Yeah. Opening the door to the inside was the wrong move. Yep. If he would have opened the door to the outside, he at least would have got a feeling for what was going on. If Phil would have hung out, it's like, yeah, now that inside door is never opening. But yeah, it's as soon as he walked in calm, as soon as he sat down and everything was calm, I was like, as soon as this game's over, you're dead. Which brings me to, because if anything, it was tense and positive, especially with what was going on with the girlfriend in, where was she? I know they said the casino, but where did she take a chopper to? Would that be like,
I think it was Atlantic City.
Atlantic City. That was my guess too. So not super far away. But that was weird and creepy too. The guy who's just credited as High Roller. It's like, what is going on with this fucking guy? Is he gonna murder her? Is he gonna rape her? Is he, he just was creepy. So that was like stressful. The whole thing was stressful. Him watching the game with the guy sitting in the breezeway, stressful. But I wanted to bring up the point. I don't know how bad of a gambler he really is. Because yes, the movie opens and he owes somebody a lot of money for maybe one bad bet, but he fucking hit 2 unbelievable stringers in this movie. So I think he's really good at what he does. It wasn't his fault that the first one,
right?
that the bookies went in there, Phil and his goon went in there and canceled it. I mean, because
talking like an addict, Aaron.
that would no, I don't gamble at all. I don't like spending money on anything, especially throwing it away on betting on sports. That's like you get, no, that makes me upset just thinking about it. I don't gamble. But so that was one point I wanted to make. I think he was actually really good at gambling. We don't know what happened just before. Like I said, he might have taken one really bad beat and owed some people some money. The two, I'm going to call them twins. I know they weren't twins, but the old seemed like gray hair bookies that he really pay any attention to, gave him a fake Rolex and then told kicked them out like they were, street dealers or whatever. At one point, I thought one of them was going to kill him when he came out of the office or, kill his girlfriend when she came out of the office. But that never happened. So, and just all those little things of never knowing what was going on kept the anxiety levels up. Like, Hildy was saying, total anxiety from start to finish. This time I did fast forward just because one, I kind of knew what was happening. And two, it was enough anxiety. It was brought up a good character, the wife. I don't think she did anything wrong. Adina Menzel. She seemed like she was trying to hold things together, putting up with his shit. I never watched The Sopranos when it first came out. So I want to say it was just over this summer. I binged the whole thing.
Yep.
And I don't know at what point Jewish diamond brokers and New Jersey mob bosses have side girlfriends, and it's just kind of part of the culture. Because it seemed very similar to me that this time watching it, that he just had a mistress that he kept in the city at a apartment that the wife kind of knew about. And obviously she was divorcing him, but she kept, it seems like they may have put it off a couple times. And he was trying to talk her into putting it off again. But yeah, that whole just the gambling, I think, is part of it. The diamonds, I think, are part of it. The big score with the opal is part of it. It's all gambling. It's all addiction. It's all just dopamine fixes, and addiction to drama. I think he creates his own drama through the gambling to get that high too. So I don't necessarily think it's all about gambling. I think it's all about the dopamine and the conflict and the drama queen. It's the same shit that girls and boys in high school, some of them thrive on. It's just that drama, the adrenaline or whatever brain secretion it gets them. It was already brought up. Go ahead.
I was just gonna. Did we ever get the number that he paid for the stone originally?
Well, he said
Never sold
$100,000.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what he told KG.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't believe it. I think it was way less than that. I do believe I don't believe he thought he was going to get $1 million for it. I thought that was part of that drama and build up and stuff. Realistically, which he probably could never do, sit down with himself and be realistically, what do you think you're going to get? Maybe 300,000. That's why he didn't sell it to KG for 250 and then screwed himself out of that deal, just over and over. But yeah, where was I going before what he sold the stone for? Just the drama. No, I knew what I was going to say. Hilty already brought it up. I wanted to bring up how good I thought Kevin Garnett was in the movie. Even portraying yourself. Like, I don't know how I would do this is an Adam Sandler, I'm assuming big budget production. has he been in anything else for the basketball fans? Like, was he in, Space Jams or, any of that stuff? Or was this his acting debut?
What was the?
This
he
was
got
Kevin
game.
Garnett's acting debut.
He wasn't in Blue Chips with Shaquille O'Neal.
Penny Hardaway, and I
No.
think he was still in high school.
So yeah, I wanted to bring that up. I was going to say that kind of stood out to me. I thought he was really good because he was in a lot of scenes, and I thought did a really good job of begging and showing anger and being pissed off and bargaining. He did. I don't know if it was good direction or a person like that who's been in high stress situations. He's a very charismatic person on his own. So I guess it probably wasn't that big of a stretch for him, but I don't know. Just somebody saying, go in and just be yourself. I don't know if it's as easy as that. I've never acted in anything, and it would terrify me. So I just wanted to point that out, but it was already done. Just the other gets they got for this, The Weeknd, he was already a star before this came out. This was just 5 years ago. He's been, a hit since way before then. And then John Amos, that was a cool,
Such a random deal.
yeah. So awesome.
As himself too.
Yeah.
So weird.
And no, the kid can't use my bathroom. Perfect.
Yeah. Get out.
Last thing I want to say. So, and I know it's ridiculous, but so is Phil and his buddy, are they the Uncut Gems? Because they're the they're the non-Jewish people, and they're the ones that finally put an end to the whole thing. Never mind.
You can sell that if you want to sell that. It's
Yeah.
I don't know how quickly I'm going to gravitate towards that. I was going to ask you if you think Phil's a hockey fan, because pretty quick to anger, doesn't like being put in a glass box for a long time, and hates watching basketball.
Doesn't give a shit about basketball.
I've seen you watch basketball. You're not a fan. I'm just wondering if you're related to Phil at all.
No, not related to Phil, but I identify with Phil. I totally understood everything he did. Push came to shove. A lot of times he showed a lot of restraint when things could have got worse when he was trying to get the money, and Adam Sandler would not shut the fuck up. And, half the time, if he would have just shut up, it would have made things a lot better. But
hung him out of a window, man. Like,
it probably wasn't his first time.
I guess I just not there. Even the moments of like opportunity that he like wasn't originally there, and then all of a sudden it was there, and he's like, oh, I'm going to take advantage of this. Like when the thing falls out of the door, or like calling her over to hang out the window, like all
See,
that
now
stuff.
me, I wouldn't even have swung the money over to the other window. I'd be like, the strap would break, or that's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
I'm going to give it to the people and apologize and be like,
yeah,
let's just be done with this, and I'll go on selling my fake Rolexes or real Rolexes or
like
whatever.
a normal person.
I did think, like, I get Phil, like where he's at, like as soon as I get out of here, you're dead, and then like whatever. But I think I'd have also made sure they secured the money first.
At that point, I think him and what was the other guys? They didn't. Nico. I think they were just on their own. Whoever they were working for or whatever they were doing, they were just grabbing what they could, and they were gonna go back to Jersey.
Yeah, I guess
wherever.
they got the whole place to.
And they were done with this whole thing. They weren't gonna fuck around with these, diamond cutters anymore. Which the whole diamond industry.
You said. Oh, sorry. You said the money strap might break, but that's not what gambling addicts do. They think, I got the money, now I'm gonna not pay off my debts. I'm going to turn this money and double it by betting some more. That's what
why
they do.
That's what I was saying. That's how much of an ungambler I am. I wouldn't even have held the money out the window. I wouldn't have gambled on that.
Right.
Let alone give it to somebody else in hopes that somebody's gonna get the first 3 rebounds, or whatever.
Opening tip
Yeah.
both
I
times.
know.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
150 grand on the tip.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought that was like a crazy word for something. It's
Yeah.
like, it's not the tip. I mean, he's not going to. And how different would the movie have been if he lost the tip like right away?
Right.
I thought for sure he was going to go up and roll his ankle on the opening tip.
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah, any of that could have happened.
question for the gamblers, and I think that's Malo and Brian, right? I don't know, Dan, did you spend some
Technically,
time
it's-
gambling on stuff?
A long time ago.
If you do a parlay like that, if you lose one of them, are you just out, or do the other two still are in play?
You're
Nope,
out.
you're
You're
out.
pretty
Yep, you got to
much
win
out.
all of them. So
Okay.
winning a 6-way parlay is really
I
difficult.
shared the 8-way I had earlier today. but,
Yeah.
The dog with 8 legs.
Okay.
But yeah,
By the
no,
way, the John Amos being there feels really random, but it's not completely random because they even say it. He was the dad on Good Times, and those guys wrote the movie Good Time.
oh, nice.
Yep.
Didn't put that together, even though
Yeah.
you had just said it. So that's
nice
funny.
little Easter egg.
So they went. They went.
He was just pushing buttons.
Yeah.
Pushing buttons. Okay.
They went and found it just for that. Anyway, no. I get why, and I guess IMDb doesn't really echo it, but I get why Rotten Tomatoes has it as like a critic's sweetheart and a audience not so much. That's exactly, very artsy, very well done. Everything's perfect. The acting's nice. I don't like the movie for what it does, and it which is weird because I think that's its intent. So they made a movie that elicits feelings. I guess Hilty said that earlier, and they're just feelings I don't want to have. So
Yeah. I think the strength of the performance from Sandler is the scene where he's crying. Everything I do doesn't work. Where he's just completely breaking down, and then very shortly after all the hype while he's watching the game, like there was a lot of moments that make you uncomfortable, but watching how excited he was during the game, because it's quite a long period of time, was just kind of gut wrenching, like I'm not getting on board with him rooting for the game. I'm just uncomfortable watching him rooting for the game.
Yeah, even if everything goes the way he wanted it to, you didn't feel good for him. And obviously, if it didn't go well, if he missed any of the legs or whatever, then that's not going to be good. Like it was just, yeah, it was uncomfortable, done well.
did anybody feel
yeah.
that the high roller had screwed the girlfriend over when he was cashing in the ticket?
Oh yeah. I thought he
she
killed
was
her.
dead in it. Yeah, I
So
thought
did I.
she was dead in his hotel room.
Oh, no.
Yep. The first time I watched it at 100, I actually thought like he's double screwed, even if he can talk his way out of Phil killing him. As soon as Phil gets out of the glass, Phil's going to kill him because the money's gone. Like it's all gone again, So yeah, I thought first time I watched it, I thought the high roller killed the girl and took the ticket.
No, I think the high roller is legit. He didn't need that. Like he's not
So that didn't even occur to me, Aaron, because I was like, that guy will do anything to get in that girl's pants. And it means going to get her money for her and hand it off. She's all for it. I thought I had him as a very linear thinker.
Well, I didn't trust that he was actually a high roller. He could have been, DiNozzo's dad from NCIS,
all right.
God, I can't think of his name. The actor who played it.
Oh.
Oh no, it was he was on a TV show, Heart and Heart, back in the day.
Heart to
Oh my
Heart.
gosh. That's like 80s, right?
Yeah,
Heart to
That's
Heart.
his
They were
dad,
detectives.
really?
he played the character Tony DiNozzo in NCIS Senior, Tony DiNozzo Senior. Robert something.
Okay.
Sorry.
Aaron, I have a Star Wars reference for you while watching this movie.
Is it an Easter egg?
As he's talking to different guys he owes money to and trying to go, hey, no, I've got the money. I'll be right back. I thought of Han Solo so many times.
Yeah, yeah.
Like in the Force Awakens, he's like, I never made a deal with those guys. Like, explain it to them. They're right here. And he turns around. He's like, good to see you.
Yeah, 100%.
It's
Yeah.
the
The
same
phone
kinda thing going on
calls,
here.
you know, and then the one time his brother-in-law, like, he's like, you know, Kevin, you know, yeah, the money, and grabs the phone, and he's, yeah, 100%. Yep.
It made me think a little bit of the I guess bar fight scene from Happy Gilmore when she busted him. He's like, no, I was just trying to find the other end of this bottle.
Oh, there it is.
Here's
Some,
some.
and here's some over there.
There's some over there.
You eat pieces of shit for breakfast?
But it was that, there's elements of that
Hmm.
same thing he's tapping into there. All right, Dan, what do you got?
All right. Yeah, like you guys were saying that about a half an hour into this movie, I had to pause it because I'm like, this movie is a lot like Good Time. So I paused it and looked it up and like, yep, Safdie brothers. So very similar. But a movie, starts out with a colonoscopy. I'm like, that this probably isn't true, but everybody that's had a colonoscopy here knows it messes you up a little bit, the next day. So, the doctor even said, hey, this is really a clear colon here. We can see everything. So that prep to get to that point is difficult. He's probably like that no matter what, but it is a theory for a normal person to go off on, unhinged like this after a colonoscopy. But
Interesting
anyway,
take, Dan. Interesting take.
It was interesting the way the movie started and ended with the camera going into the stone like that at the beginning, and then the camera going into the bullet hole at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Or the
So it went into the stone and came
one
out
hole
the
or another.
butthole. It went into the bullet hole and came out into the universe.
Yeah.
There's some meaning there. I didn't get it. I didn't follow. There was a track that I fell off.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, I liked watching it once, but yeah, it's really a wild ride here throughout this movie. What else? But Sandler, what a despicable character he plays. As soon as he dumps the girlfriend, he goes right back to his wife and says, hey, why don't we try and work this out and stay together? It's like, you scumbag. And Adina really, she was the only like kind of decent character to me in the movie. But what took her so long to figure out that he was a dumbass? I mean, the daughter is probably 16, 17 years old, so they've been together for a while. I guess she just eventually got sick of all his crap.
I do think religion and family is a lot involved in that with the Jewish faith and not getting divorced.
Okay, yeah, could
Your
be.
lifestyle may play a part.
They
as
did have
well.
that family dinner where it seemed like that stuff's very important to all of them. That's true.
It was by far the calmest, like he could exist in that. He didn't need to create drama in that moment, right? I was thinking about that. Like,
Yes.
Until he got the Craigslist listing of his apartment.
yeah.
But yeah, that's the only fairly calm part of the movie, that dinner, and then he goes to the apartment and sees that she moved out. And I think there was about a half an hour left in the movie at that point, and I knew that this is the one calm moment, and that's gonna flip, and it's gonna go wild and crazy ending here. The daughter, I mean, she wasn't in the movie too much, but she obviously thinks that her dad is kind of a jerk. She basically ignores him when he's talking, and yeah, okay, dad. So I think the mom and the daughter were probably doing some talking there about what a jerk dad was. But then she saw him running backstage, before her performance. She sees him running through there. It's kind of like, Dad, what the hell are you doing? What else we got here? Yeah, I wrote that down. A six-way parlay is almost impossible to hit. A three-way is difficult.
I mean, if you're smooth in the bar, you can. Oh,
Yeah.
my bad.
Yeah, that's 70s guy. He was creepy. He like the 70s high roller guy. I mean, that's what I was calling the 70s guy with his. He looked like definitely a refugee from that era.
That's a good way to put that.
But yeah, I wrote that down. I definitely thought that when he went and cashed the money, I go, he's gonna come out and she's gonna be dead and he's gonna take the money. But like Tim said, he probably was a multi-millionaire and he didn't really care that much about the money. He just wanted the girl.
What do you think she did with that money? Like, what do you think happens to the money after?
That's a good question. She's gonna go back to the place and probably the cops are gonna be swarming all over it. He's gonna be dead.
They're gonna be waiting for her there.
Could be.
But who knows? I mean, the only people that know what happened are the dudes that robbed the place and took off.
Right,
Like,
and they're gone. And
Who were the guys that they had stationed in Atlantic City?
That
They
was
could
them,
send-
wasn't it?
they worked with
that was
Phil.
their
Right, that's what I'm
associate.
saying.
Yeah.
Right, so they could say, "All right, you missed her there. See if she shows up for work," or I don't know.
Oh yeah, like she's not going to be safe. But as far as I think anyone's concerned, the cameras in the casino would verify that she placed the bet with cash.
Right?
Like it's her money.
It's her money.
Now
Yep.
people could take it away from her, but like the cops aren't gonna, or the
No, but those
But-
guys. I mean, if anything, I don't know.
Yeah, it would just be luck if she showed up at work and they weren't staking out the place and she was able to take off with the money.
and
'Cause
like if
they'd probably be looking for her pretty hard.
But there's no way they would go back there though. Like they were ransacking the place and they
Right.
were not staying in town. Like
That's
they
fair.
left a murder there. They're not going to stake that place out. Right?
double murder,
Yeah.
That's
Um,
true. They probably got their, money back and all the jewels they stole.
Well, they weren't owed any money. It was his brother-in-law that they were working for. So, like, there should be nobody looking for that money.
Right.
Once you know it exists, you might start.
Right.
looking.
Oh yeah, everybody's gonna decide.
Except for the scraggly
Yep.
hair guys. They
Yep.
didn't get paid yet. The scraggly
They
hair
got
guys.
nothing.
They need them.
They
They
got
need
nothing.
some cash.
and that would be like I don't know if it'd be a Tarantino ending or whatever. It's like 5 years later, she's on a beach in Malibu, and those fucking dudes show up in t-shirts and jeans on a beach,
Yeah.
shoot her.
But how dedicated is she to him that after he kicks her out, she goes and gets a tattoo of Howie on her arm? It's like,
I
man.
don't think it was
It
her
was
arm, man.
not
That
her
was a,
arm.
that was a
Oh,
butt
it
cheek.
That was her
it was
butt
her
cheek.
butt. Yeah, that's
That was
right.
butt cheek.
I'm sorry. Her butt
And
tattoo.
he was
arm.
not worthy. That made him cry.
Oh,
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of my favorite lines though. What the hell was it? Now we can't get buried together.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, that's about it for me. I wrote down that kid's room was probably like Brian's dream room. It had a bunch of figurines and I don't know what they were, like from
Action
movies, action figures. Yeah, I'm sure Brian knew what they were, but I really didn't. But I just saw all the stuff back there in the background. But
I thought you meant the bedroom with the race car bed. I thought that's the one you were talking about.
his sons, when they went into his son's room.
Yeah, there was two. There was one with the race car bed. I thought Brian would like that. You're talking about the one with the basketball hoop. I was kidding. Sorry, Brian.
Okay, yeah, that's one I was talking about, the basketball hoop. Yep. But that's it. I'm glad I watched it once. I don't know if I could watch it again because it's so intense. But it was fun watching it once.
All right.
I bought it.
For
I
the
bought it.
intent. Oh, you bought the movie?
Yep. It was $6.99 to purchase and $3.99 to rent.
Oh,
So
I didn't
if
even
it's
look
under
at
$10
that.
and I'm going to rent it anyway, I usually buy it. So I'm going to make myself watch that movie again sometime.
Yeah. The out of all the anxiety, the two worst scenes, like anxiety filled, I think for me, like, and I know there's more at stake in other scenes, but when Kevin Garnett is in the his jewelry room, his jewelry store, and there's just too many people in there, and he's trying to get Kevin's, and trying to keep him from leaning and when all that's going on, I didn't like that made me feel the worst. I don't know if I want to say I didn't like it. I think they got the point across the most of their anxiety. And then in the bar, in the club, when his I don't know, what would you call him, his lure, his guy who brings guys to him, was wearing the fucking neon orange that like lit everything up around him. Whenever he walked up to somebody, they like glowed red. But all that arguing, and like when there was just too many people in a small space shouting at each other, I hated both those scenes in a good way. I think way they wanted me to hate them, but like I didn't,
So
got
I
their
am
point across in
interested,
those two
Brian.
scenes.
I missed your synopsis on the movie. You gave a resounding thumbs down to Good Time. So was this a thumbs up or down for you?
It was a medium. It was a middle.
Okay. All right. I was just curious.
Middle finger down.
Gave him the middle thumb.
Like,
Is that your wiener?
I got some thoughts from Wilden. He texted me earlier. He said, wow, what a depressing movie. I've always had a hard time watching movies about people losing their struggle against addiction. I finished this and said out loud, I did not like watching that. But I think that's by design here. The start of the movie is disorienting with a lot of characters talking loudly at the same time. And that goes on for quite a while. There are parts of this where I kind of lost the plot, but overall, I think I see what they were trying to accomplish. The vibe they create is one of constant chaos, something else, another problem, another guy he owes money to. It just keeps piling on. Everything is always just bad. The only times you're allowed to feel somewhat good in this movie are when he has a big bet going and is actually winning. Even when he wins, those wins are short-lived and he's right back to the sad chaos. Sounds a bit like life with a gambling addiction, I'm guessing. So while I found this unpleasant to watch, I appreciate what they were trying to do, if that is indeed what they were trying to do. Adam Sandler was almost unrecognizable and was great in his role. Thought Julia Fox did well. Having Kevin Garnett and The Weeknd actually act, albeit as themselves, was kind of a fun risk for this movie to take. Everyone performed well from an acting standpoint, I thought. Depressing and tough to follow at times, but I'm glad I watched it. Those are Mike's thoughts.
Kind of sticks with the theme, I think.
Yeah, overall theme there. The A24 thing. So I got my stuff. I got, maybe it was in the back of my head, or we probably talked about it last time, but I legit forgot. Like, it definitely didn't play into why I chose it. It's just funny how that keeps coming up a lot now. Right in the beginning, those guys, the guy's injured, and they're moving him, and then they stop. And I put, keep moving him to a hospital. Why is he on the ground and you're pouring water on a compound fracture? Shot odd and old on purpose with the strange zoom in. It reminded me a little bit of like Stranger Things. So that shot in the beginning with the weird music, and then at the end we talked about it, the mirroring shot.
Malo, to
yeah,
your point, I did think about that opening scene a bit. It seemed like there were some opportunists going on here. Like, there's this distraction of somebody who is hurt, and then the guy snuck in there to steal this thing to get it to him, right? So he bought this thing not through, like, a legit, this is where you get this stuff. Like, it seemed like this is a black market purchase. Like, it shows up, it's hidden in a fish.
it's not a fish.
And the guys look like they snuck in there. And so I was wondering if the whole thing with the injured dude was staged. As in, like, to get the, they had like Chinese guys there with guns kind of overseeing everything. I was wondering if all of that wasn't just kind of staged so that somebody could sneak in and steal something and get it out on a boat, black market style, because that seems like where he would get his shit from.
Yeah, that I agree with. That's
And
a
I
hell
don't
of a
know.
staging.
I don't know what you mean about staged. I think maybe those two guys broke the other guy's leg. Like, I don't,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of
Okay.
thinking. Yeah.
This cast, holy crap. Garnett, Bogosian, Hirsch. So here was the thing with Sandler. So I'm like, okay, he's doing a voice and he's got the teeth. And at some point, like it reminded me of like Sandler, like doing a kind of like a Borat offshoot or something. I come back to it later. So rule of 3 on the glass. I knew that was gonna, like, he just, when he warns him once, you're like, okay, there's a reason. And then he warns him again. You're like, all right, third time. And sure enough, right through. Music is awful. That's a quote from Jamie Malo. She watched about, I don't know, at least a half hour of this. And she's like, oh, this movie is so ADD, or, like she could, feel the anxiety, obviously. I'm like, they're just setting it up. Like, they're just getting things going, and, and then the story's getting, so I told her the next day when I finished, I'm like, you chose correctly in not finishing this, because you would not have enjoyed that. I did. So here was one knock. So I put the voice faded, and then he went, he went back to Adam Sandler real quick. Maybe it was more just when he was yelling, like he wasn't able to layer that on top of, and then when he was trying to be charming, he would have more of the voice, or it was calmer. But I definitely felt like it faded in and out. He let $1 million rock go for 25 grand in collateral. I don't know. If he actually, maybe that was the thing. Like, he didn't really think it was $1 million or whatever, but getting the Celtic ring as collateral. But then, even more anxiety. He couldn't just hang on to it or put it in the safe.
That was the most uncomfortable thing in the whole movie. He took that to the pawn shop. I was like, what is happening?
Well, and then clearly it's not like a one-off or anything. The other guy, Lakeith Stanfield, is that his name?
Michael Jackson thing, Ian.
Well, there was that. I had that made me laugh. But the fact that guy was keeping his watches there, like, he was upset. Why didn't you bring out my watches? This is a perfect time. Well, we find out later why, because he had them elsewhere throughout the city as well, or pawned them off, or whatever.
And they were fake. The boxes were real.
Right. Well, and I guess that's what those other guys, that's maybe where they got one of those watches that they were trying to come back and return, or were upset with. I said, I think because of movies and TV shows like this, that's why I make $2 and $5 bets. Like, that's enough risk for me. I just like being right. I get a little bit of a thrill, and I'm good with that.
Nickel slots at Vegas.
Seriously, like, I wrote Orange Hoodie and the Black Light is awesome. I thought just visually it was really cool. Pretty much in all caps, or at least a larger font of my handwriting, I wrote so much dumb. And then put narrow down later again, like, just, again, just emphasizing all the bad choices. Very strange music during the breakup fight. It was throughout all the movie, really, but it really was emphasized at that point. I think the highest anxiety, most annoying, I don't know how you want to describe it, part, maybe just because it was kind of unnecessary, like, you just chill for a second, was with the door not opening and everybody arguing and yelling, and
Hit
phone
the door,
ringing.
let me out, I'm trying, let me out, get the shavings, let me out,
Yeah.
And he's freaking out because he has his opal, and he's trying to get it back from him. And
yeah, it was just, that was kind of the height of that feel for me. Let's see.
I think I noticed while you're looking there, the tool that he used to make the metal connection to open that door, it wasn't a screwdriver. It was
a file.
It
was a metal file.
Chisel, right?
It was a metal file.
Was it a file? I thought it was a metal
chisel. File. It was a metal file.
Well, the reason that I was bringing this up,
Aaron, do you think it was a metal file?
Yeah, I believe Aaron thinks it's a metal file. I saw
Aren't
a chisel,
those also called rasps?
They're not. Rasps are round.
That's a different thing. But here's why I bring this up, though, is because the guys used a chisel to get the opal out of the mine in the first place. And I was thinking that was a connection.
I could see why you'd see that. Want that. I get it.
Mm.
But it was a metal file, you
It
think?
was, and what I'm saying is, yes, it was metal, but it was also a file for metal. So that's why I'm saying it was a metal file versus a wood file, which has much more aggressive teeth on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a file for metal.
Is there a stone file?
I don't know if there's a stone file.
No, that's a chisel.
Okay.
Now we're back to chisel.
All right. I had 3. I wrote down 3 people that I kind of rooted for. Judd Hirsch, Idina Menzel, and the jeweler guy. The only person who was actually, well, I mean, I guess the other people were working behind the counter, but the guy who was really doing the work, with, you know, with the glasses and.
I'm going to push back on.
Yeah.
Judd Hurst is he's the dad, right?
Hirsch.
I think the father-in-law, maybe.
Yeah.
Father-in-law.
But also Jeff Goldblum's dad in Independence Day.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
See,
Taxi. Yeah.
Taxi.
I would have went with you, except I didn't like him for the simple fact that he went along with
Bidding.
What was the Brian? What do they call that on eBay? When you bump up the bets?
Bumping the
I don't remember what it's called.
Shilling or something? Not shilling.
I think it is shilling. Yes.
Is it? But whatever. And as soon as it went wrong, he was doing it like nobody grabbed his hand and held it up. He did it himself. He was pressured to do it, but he did it. But then when it went to shit, out on the street, he's like, "It's all your fault." It's it's like, no, you're a fucking adult. You held the paddle up every time, and so I didn't like that. And I get in real life, you're doing things for your son-in-law or whatever, but you also got in a Bentley with a driver, so I'm not really upset about your $192,000 or whatever.
Yeah. He had the money to cover it.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, that's the one.
I just don't think he was inherently devious or
right.
You know what I mean? Like,
but we don't know how he got his millions. I mean,
fair enough.
I mean,
So no inebriated Matt Smith.
He texted me.
He wasn't gonna be here. Come on.
Well, you guys are gonna love this. He said, "I didn't get a chance to watch the movie.
No.
But let me know if you guys end up BSing after, and maybe I'll jump in. So we might get a drunk Smith in a while. What I should tell him is that we're done. We could show up, and find out that we're not done talking.
Okay, that'd be cool. Because 2 things: the Kevin Garnett $25,000 thing, or the ring was worth more than $25,000, or didn't somebody say
right? But I don't know why I wrote 25.
Yeah. Whatever it was, just to let one, I think he was such an actual Celtics fan and a basketball enthusiast that he saw an opportunity that this could actually help the Celtics win, and I could place a bet because Kevin's going to play out of his mind. That's why he would let it go, thinking it was $1 million rock to Kevin overnight.
But he said no. He's like he said a couple times he's a Knicks fan.
Yeah,
how crazy is this?
Oh, you're right. Is that the gold ring he had? Was that Knicks?
That was
the other ring. Yep.
Okay.
And that's the thing in New York City. All the Jewish people are Knicks fans, huge Knicks fans.
So
every one of them.
Yes.
I didn't know that stereotypical, slightly racist factor.
Just so everyone knows, opinions of Dan Sears do not necessarily reflect the conscious of the group.
All right, so maybe that. So I was just going with I thought he really liked the Celtics, and I never picked up the whole. And even when they said what the other ring was, I wasn't sure, if it was baseball or what.
Well, honestly, Aaron, that's the thing. You can't. That's
where you were going with that.
Yeah, but.
So Knicks play basketball, huh?
You can't trust anything he says because he's saying that he's a Celtics fan to KG to get him to perform so he can place the bet. And then, he's selling the Knicks ring to the pawn guys. And, he talked them out of taking a good look at the Knicks ring. Like they didn't pull out the looker and look at it. Like he just kind of was like, you guys know this is what this is. I'm a Knicks fan. And then he walked out. You don't even know that's a real fucking Knicks ring.
I think it's implied that he had pawned it to him, but in the past.
Right.
So it was the
I
same-
agree
same
with
ring.
that.
Could be, but you can't
because-
trust a single thing that guy did in this
Right.
movie, though.
And even the guy says, you've had that ring forever, which
True.
I'm assuming he's taken loans out on it a couple times.
Got
True.
the
I
boogie
went more with
in there.
Dan on that one. The other one, just looking up the cast as we were talking, Tilda Swinton. Does anybody remember her being in the movie?
She's
I
the
remember.
voice of the auctioneer. I did read that. So when
Oh,
he goes
okay.
into
I
that
happened
one,
to pause at that point.
the assistant who was the girl who was the assistant who was irritated with him at the auction house
You wanted the
gets
inserts
the
taken out of
main
the-
lady on the phone. Tilda Swinton is the main lady on
Okay.
the phone.
Right
Wow.
when Tilda said, "Don't give the phone to him," she
Yeah.
gave the
That's
phone
right.
to him.
That's her.
Okay, that makes sense.
I saw it
because-
too, and I was like, "When was she in the movie?" And that's I went
Because
down the
they-
same path.
Like, do we see her at all in the movie? Because like I clicked a couple things and they do show a picture of her in a like orange and white plaid blazer, like, and I'm like, I don't remember this at
Might
all.
have had a cut scene
Yeah,
or
deleted
something
Right,
scene,
that's
probably.
from the auction.
But whether like because she's credited, but what another get for a cameo for
Hey, you were talking about the
Netflix movie.
budget. I did read Sandler usually gets 20 million for a movie, and the budget for the entire movie was 19 million. I don't know how much it made, but so he took a pay cut, and they didn't. I don't think they had as much money as you would think to make that movie.
Well, and that's one thing with a Netflix, we'll never know. Like, there's
Mhm.
no box office. There's no. It made $400 million, or
Yeah.
it lost $10 million.
Yeah.
Because
So
it's
he had to
just
get
about
some profit
Well,
sharing.
this one was in the
or
theater, so
something.
we would have those numbers for this one, but the other ones he does with them wouldn't. So I'm looking it up now. It budgeted 19 million, and the box office was 50 million. So there's your numbers.
But it was also released on Netflix, right?
yes.
Yeah, I think it was
Right.
about 6 months later.
Oh, okay. So I thought maybe it was before. All right. Never mind. Because I was like, the Netflix views would totally handicap the box office if
Yeah.
it went Netflix first. Because it sounded like, Tim, you were saying that they, or whoever said that Sandler might have a shot at an Oscar.
Right.
So
That
I
was the
thought-
unique thing. They let it go to the theater, got the box office money, and then after that they put it on Netflix.
Got it. That makes way more sense.
Well, that is all I have, gentlemen. If anybody has anything else, put a bow on it.
All right. All right. Uncut Gems. Hey, look, what do you guys if you were going to give this, I'm curious.
Just
If
want
you
to
were
see
going to
Jay.
give this movie out of 5 stars, and you can do halves, what would you give this movie? As a movie fan or a movie critic, however you'd want to look at it. How many stars would you give this out of 5?
We're going to start this at movie 214.
Yep. Yep. Got to keep growing, Aaron. Got to keep growing. 4 for Malo.
4.
I think I did 4 when I posted this
4.
on Letterbox.
I'm tempted to go 4 too. I'm between a 3.5 and a 4. Dan?
I'm going 3.5.
Wow. I didn't, because I mean, I would say I somewhat liked it, but
Mhm.
like, I think 3 is solid.
2.5.
I'm
Okay.
good with 3.
Yeah. That's interesting because we did have reasons to like it and reasons to not like it, right? So that's just an interesting
So in a weird way, it was funny because Hilty almost said the same thing that I said with Wicked, where he's like, I wouldn't say it's not for me, which I 100% did with that, but I could also understand that it's done well for what it is,
Mhm.
and that's kind of the same parallel I had here. So that's why I felt the 4 was warranted.
Yeah. I said you could only do halves. I want to do 3.75 is what I want to land on. Just for the Sandler's acting while the game's going on alone, both times is just really incredible. So anyway, yeah, bow on that one. I believe Dan Sears is up next. We're on the theme of IMDb, looking at one of your former movies and something they said you might also like. Extra
Okay.
bonus points if it's a movie you haven't seen before, but that's not mandatory.
All right. Let me look here.
That's a Hilty rule, by the way. I figured that might hamstring
we got
Hilty into
bonus
picking the
points?
movie. He might be like, guys, there's nothing there for me.
There's like a handful. Okay, so do you really want me to pick the like Goldilocks version of Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey? Because I can. That ended up in one of the movie
Did it really?
suggestions. It
Did it
did.
really?
It did.
Well, I figured
So
I mean, how many movies have you picked? Probably 4 or 5.
five. Yeah.
And then times 12. I figured if you had to pick something that you haven't seen before, it might be slim pickings for you.
With the older ones, there's some in there.
Oh, that
It's
makes
like,
sense. That makes sense.
Like, nope, never even heard of this one. But
yeah.
okay, noted that I'm being handicapped for just being me. Thank you, appreciate that.
Shut up, nerd.
Not
Okay.
really how
I had to
meant
get that in there for the bingo because
Yeah. Yeah, we got the Easter egg in there. Shut up, nerd. We got Winnie the Pooh. We're good. Dan, your pick.
All right. Sorry, Malo. No Christmas movies came up in my search. So I remember, but I looked at several of my movies. 24-Hour Party People. And I couldn't find anything that I really liked. So I went to the movie On the Basis of Sex. And the movie that I saw down there was The Long Game. So that's what we're going with. It's a golf movie.
Okay, figured.
I think it was on Netflix.
Who's it? I'm not
So it's a
familiar
little
with that.
inspirational themed movie, I think, because I've never seen it. But it
Never
seemed
heard
like a
of it.
little inspirational Christmas.
Dan, you've picked a movie I've never seen.
Yes.
Hey.
So
got
Who had
Dennis
that on the bingo
Quaid and
card?
Cheech Marin in it.
Yeah. Oh, Cheech. I
Oh.
mean,
yeah,
he had a
the
golf movie
golf
with Cheech.
golf
Dennis
movie
Quaid.
with Jay Hernandez, Dennis Quaid, and Cheech Marin. Yeah.
Tin Cup.
It's Quaid.
Oh.
Isn't Cheech in Tin Cup?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what
He's
I'm saying.
fantastic in
Yeah.
Tin Cup.
Bones, what's going on, Bones?
Take the change in your right pocket, put it in your left.
I look like a fool. What do you think you look like shooting chili dippers up Lee Jansen's ass?
The Long Game. Well, ladies and gentlemen, next week we'll be discussing the movie The Long Game. Before we sign off, has anybody seen this movie?
Nope.
I have not.
Not even a Hilty.
All right. Let's
Yeah.
see what happens. We'll talk about The Long Game next week.
That'll do it for this episode of the BTB Movie Club podcast. Thank you as always for listening. We know we enjoyed ourselves. We hope you did too. Have yourselves a great week. We are partnered with the SBDM Crew Podcasting Network.